Yes, back by popular demand, it says here. It's the return of loose men. And joining me, Richard Madeley. Well, he's a dad, he is a dancer, but don't expect any dad dancing. It's diversity star Jordan Banjo. Now, this guy's always gold. You know it's true. I'm sorry about this, Martin. These puns, they dog your life. It's Martin Kemp. And keeping us on the right side of the law, and goodness knows we're going to need it, it's Robert Rinder. We have got so much for you in the next hour. Coming up, we reveal the truth about male body confidence. We delve into how men really feel about the pressure to stay in shape. And we debate whether it's time to stop bantering about so-called dad bods, like his awful body. Is flirting cheating? Do men and women have different infidelity thresholds? And do guys really get over breakups faster than women do? Our very different views on all of that from 1:45. And crop tops, handbags, skirts, even Spanx are now top trends for men. So do find out where we stand on these latest fashions and just how far we'd actually personally go to stay cool. OK, let's get on with topic number one. When actor Zac Efron took part in a Facebook video to celebrate the Earth Day last month, speculation on the internet went mad. It was rife about whether or not he'd had cosmetic surgery. He's maintaining a sphinx-like silence. He won't say anything about it either way. But new statistics do show that men's interest in altering their appearance, particularly facially, has exploded in lockdown, with a rise in consultation requests, hair transplants, what's called Botox, and, of course, fillers. And this comes as more than a third of men feel genuinely under pressure to have the perfect body. Zac, of course, is a Hollywood star. You, Martin, have been a pop star. You kind of still are. Did you feel under the microscope about the way you looked?
Oh, always. Yeah, when I was 17, I was in the band, so I was always aware of how I looked, you know. But I think nowadays, we are so much more kind of health conscious and body aware than we ever have been. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a generational thing as well. I think if you had said to my dad, right, about looking after his body when he was busy making his lard sandwiches to go to work, literally lard taken out of the, you know, the roast dinner tray from the Sunday before.
He literally was a lard ass.
Lard sandwich.
Yeah, okay, fine.
If you'd have said to him, right, about body awareness, he would have laughed, you know. In fact, the only kind of exercise equipment that he would have known is that kind of set of springs you could buy in the back of a Batman comic that Mr. Universe used to
catch
sell
the
you.
chest hairs when they
Yes,
got together. Ow!
So I think it changes, you know.
Yeah. Well, I would have thought that social media is a big change. I mean, when you were doing Top of the Pops, that was it. You did Top of the Pops. You couldn't hear what people were shouting at the television screen at home. Now, kids do Top of the Pops. They go on their iPhones and they're seeing what people are saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you know it more than I do.
Yeah, I think that's hitting the nail on the head, really. I feel like now everything is so accessible. You see everyone's life as they put it out there, and everyone wants you to perceive their life as being perfect. You know, someone will upload a gym selfie. They've been in the gym for 2 hours. They've taken 50 pictures. They've got the right angle. They look the best they can look, and they put that up there as if it's normal. And when you're flooded with that, when you see certain shows, and it's the norm is to have a six-pack. That's the norm. If you don't have that, it's kind of like that was an attribute.
So when you made it into television and you were doing your dances and stuff, did you feel that you weren't measuring up?
When we first went on Britain's Got Talent, I was 16, and at my heaviest, I went to like just under 23 stone. And I was only 16 at this point, you know. So I've always
6'6", aren't you?
6'5". So I've always been quite a big dude. And like, yeah, you can see here, there's like, if you compare me to the other boys, you know, all they got to do is sneeze and they get an ab. And then there was me. I looked at a slice of chocolate cake and it felt like I gained a stone. That was always the way, you know. Yeah. And at first, it was difficult when we first started because you're part of the biggest dance group in the country. You're young. I'm 16. And to be blunt, I felt like a bit of a fraud because, you know, all my friends are dancing around, flipping around, concentrating on having the time of their lives. And there was me at the back trying to figure out how to disguise myself and kind of get away with a routine. Yeah. And then, you know, again, we spoke about you get the pressures of social media. And for me, I went too far the other way. I then was 6'5" and ended up weighing 11.5 stone. Oh, wow. I literally went way too far the other way because of all the pressures that I felt to be a certain way, and then it's
I would have thought that you, being a kind of a trendsetter and a kind of a setter of a trend for an image, would be the last person to be worried and anxious about the way you look. So I would have thought you just took it in your stride.
I would say in the last year it's been the worst it's ever been. Between lockdown and not being as active and not doing this, you go on social media and it's like there's a bunch of people who are out and about and, you know, they're making the best of their life of lockdown and, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then there's me at home with my kids like, pass me the Pringles, please.
I mean, it's all porky pies, right? I mean, exactly as you describe. I think social media, Instagram being the very worst, has done more violence to all of our mental health, but especially young people who put out, exactly as you describe, completely false images of this perfect life. All of it is complete and utter nonsense. I think the way I describe it is sort of halitosis of the human soul. And the consequence is that there's been more pressure than ever to live up to this false narrative of how people are supposed to look. Look, objectification of whatever gender is really bad. And we do have to admit, because there'll be lots of women watching it, it is always worse, and it has been worse for years and probably will continue to be for women. I think one of the things we need to talk about...
We are catching up.
We are, but I do think we need to talk about this. You know, I'm sure it affected Zac Efron, who's very beautiful in whatever lighting, as are all of you. But there's something we need to talk about, which is about resilience as well, and giving people who comment on your body image your absolute, aggressively undivided indifference. Bullying is always about the bully. And I think we need to talk about that. It seems to me that part of the conversation, sure, is about tackling this, but also having the self-confidence to say, if you're going to write something mean or nasty, ultimately that's about you. Why are you sitting up all night wearing a muumuu and chain-smoking parliaments? Get a life.
I totally endorse that. You took part in this programme's Body Stories campaign, didn't you? And I haven't seen these pictures until today. It passed me by, but you are ripped.
I know, that's what that's what you call, as a friend of mine said, that's a Bob Fock. You see, body of Baywatch, face of Crime Watch.
Thank God it was that. I was worried about something else. When you moved from the law into television, and you very quickly, overnight, you became a kind of a household name and very recognisable, did you find that your body awareness changed, that you were more self-conscious about the way you looked?
Not so much my body awareness. I mean, one of the things about being in the law and being covered with the robe is that I'm evaluated by my brain. And in fact, it's true to say I wore the same suit for every I wore the same suit for every interview for about 3 years, and I encourage Nadia Sawalha to do exactly the same thing on this show. On day 2 of wearing the same outfit, people were phoning in, wondering whether she's taken leave of her senses. Things were a little bit different. But I do fitness for my mental health, and that's why I took part in that. And I really like having a conversation about that. I've got a 1-pack now after lockdown, I'm afraid. Go on.
I have a no-pack, I can assure you. But from my perspective, what I've noticed, I've been in television since the dawn of time, you know, and I joined Border Television in 1978. And what I've noticed is that there is much more attention on the way men, even men of my decrepit age, and I'm 65 today, right? People are
We all want to look like you at 65.
Well, I am, and I've been in it that long.
I look older than you now.
Oh, cobblers. But I've noticed that even old men like me come under a lot of pressure to explain how we look. So, for example, I was born blonde. I was Boris Johnson blonde when I was a little boy. I've got a picture of me when I was about 4 on my dad's lap. So I have been told that as blonde-born people, as they go grey, particularly men, the sun, and like swimming, wet hair and the sun in the summer, will make you go a bit blonde again. That's happened to me. I have been accused again and again and again of dyeing my hair, of putting streaks in my hair, and I haven't. But I've had to put up with this, you know, for 2 or 3 years. But sometimes you can actually walk into a trap of your own making. I don't know if anybody remembers what happened to me on GMB about a year ago. This got so much attention. I was sitting in for Piers Morgan, right? It was 3:30 in the morning in the kitchen. My face was all dry from shaving. I put on some moisturiser, got in the car, drove in. Flash forward to 8 o'clock, and I could hear the director in the gallery whispering to people, and there was giggling going on. And I said, what? And we went into a break, and I said, what are you laughing at? And they said, you're trending, Richard. And I said, why? And they said, because you're going darker and darker and darker. And they got a shot of me. And I was doing a Donald Trump. And it turned out what I'd done is, you know, at 3 in the morning, I put my daughter's artificial tan on, and it was strong stuff. It was Factor God knows what. And look at that. It was humiliating. But the attention that got...
You do look a little bit like George Michael there, I've got to say.
No,
or my shirt, either one.
Yeah.
But the attention... I mean, and that's funny, and it was very funny, and I was able to talk about it the next day. But the point is, it got column inches. And then all it was a bit of, our accidental fake tan. So we are all under much more scrutiny, I think, whether we're in the public eye or not.
Yeah.
OK, well, still to come on Loose Men, we're going to be tackling the taboo of whether flirting actually counts as cheating. We'll find out if men really get over breakups faster than women, and a bit later, we're talking fashion. And all I'm going to say at this point is Spanx for men. Martin, don't go anywhere. Love it. Welcome back. You're watching Loose Men today. Still to come, do men and women deal with breakups very differently? And is flirting actually cheating in disguise? And the loose women do it every single day. Well, now it's our turn. From our experiences of bullying to the way that we raise our children, we will be opening up in an unusually honest conversation for blokes on telly. We don't often have them. Before any of that, though, it's competition time. Here's Vic Hope with all the details.
Folks, we have a prize on offer that can see you take to the road in style. And it can also boost your bank balance.
It starts with this super sleek BMW 5 Series Touring that's kitted out with a sat-nav, parking assistance, sports interior and so much more.
This car is worth over a fabulous £49,000 and you could be its new owner.
The giving doesn't stop there, as we want you to treat your family to incredible trips out. So we're adding in £90,000 in tax-free cash.
I've got my waders on. I've come to Season Coat here in the Cotswolds and it is National Gardening Week and I'm going to get down and dirty. I'm dry, it feels so weird. Oh, it's not warm, is it, Greg?
It's not.
Oh, so what's going to happen? That's just going to grow into a full plant?
This will grow into a full plant.
Imagine how ecstatic you'd be if you won £90,000 and a brand new car for another chance to win. Go to the website, entries cost £2. Text prize to 86060. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Call 09068 786060. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and phone number to DY17 PO Box 7558 Derby DE1 0NQ. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close on Friday the 28th of May at 3 p.m. Good luck!
Yeah, best of luck. Now then, a couple of weeks ago, the Loose Women revealed the very first results of their exclusive love survey. Well, today we're going to tackle more of the intimate issues affecting relationships, but of course, this time it's going to be from a completely male perspective. Now, these figures fascinate me. A quarter of those polled really believe that flirting counts as cheating. And almost double the number of women think that flirting is cheating compared to men. You see, it takes two to flirt, doesn't it? It takes two to flirt, so that must mean that half of those responding were women, and therefore they're being hypocritical in admitting that they're cheating. I don't get it. How can flirting be cheating, Jordan? What do you think?
I personally think it's where you draw the line at flirting, or what constitutes flirting to you. Let's say, I don't know, let's say me and Rob are having a conversation now and we're both laughing along and stuff like that. Someone will say, oh, to some people that's flirting. I could be like, no, it's just a conversation. But to other people, being friendly, who knows? Like, for me, I kind of draw my rule at, if I've got my fiancée with me, Nay, if I wouldn't do whatever I'm doing in front of her, then it's probably inappropriate.
That's your rule of thumb?
That's a rule of thumb. If I wouldn't do it with my partner there, then I wouldn't do it.
All right, I was flirting, just said that was my sex face. Right,
thank you, Rob. Well received. Get Nay out, just in case, get Nay out.
But surely flirting, as I understand it, flirting has to have, Martin, a degree of sexual content to it, doesn't it? Otherwise it's not flirting. It's got to be something to do with...
No, I think we're all animals. I think we're all... I think I flirt with everyone. I think it's flirting with men and women, is what you were saying. I think what you have to look out for is keeping the respect for your partner.
Right.
And as soon as they lose that, then you lose respect for yourself. And that's how I was brought up. You have respect for everyone and everybody's things. And, you have to keep that in mind.
I think I agree with your rule of thumb, that if you think that your partner, if they overheard this conversation that was going on, would be worried, offended, put in the shade, then you're overstepping the mark. Yeah. What's your perspective on this?
There's so much dishonesty around this. If you're in a good quality, secure relationship, you should be able to flirt with anybody. It's not just about intention. It's not a thought crime. It's what as is always the case in life, it's what you do, I think, that really matters.
But is it cheating? Is it
No,
cheating
I
to
think
have
a good quality relationship, you should be able to say you find somebody else attractive, and you should be able to delight in one another and feel safe enough to express that. I think that's probably a surefire way to stay together. My stepdad is still pining over Naomi Campbell, and my mum still finds it utterly hilarious. Never going to happen, but there you are.
I think you're allowed to say if that person there, they're attractive, as long as they're not really that attractive.
They're not too much.
Yeah, not too much.
No, hang on, but are you allowed to say to that person, when your partner's not there, I find you very attractive?
No,
that's the difference.
That's crossing the line.
Absolutely.
But that's
I have to say that
that's
the line for
flirting.
me and Judy was written absolutely in concrete, because, I mean, you know, when we got going on Rich and Judy and, you know, this morning show before that, we were sort of emblematic as the nation's sort of married couple. We didn't seek it, but that's kind of what was delivered on us. And it would have been outrageous for either of us to be seen flirting with anybody. It just wasn't allowed, you know. So I think that the standards apply to you as a person depending on your relationship. And you're right, there are some couples who are perfectly happy, and they're almost flattered if their partner's flirted with, don't you think?
But aren't there new... Aren't there new ways of flirting? I mean, now you could do it on social media, right? You can sort of accidentally...
Double tap someone's picture. That'll catch you a whole load of grief.
No, let's not even go there.
Don't even start down that path.
The send button is the modern gate to hell. Ah, did I press send? All right, listen, let's debunk another man myth now. It's often assumed that men get over breakups a lot quicker than women. But according to one study, while women experience more emotional and even physical pain, they do tend to move on a bit quicker than the blokes do. Do you think that's true, Rob?
I think it depends, you know, on the person. And I think for a lot of men, and I'm sure we'll come on to discuss this, you know, they're not brought up with the emotional vocabulary, the language to express their pain, and often don't have the community to reach out and help. But of course, men experience that sort of pain in a breakup equally to women. But with a bit of levity, one thing I have noticed, and I'm sorry to be, well, a traitor to the brotherhood, but when men and women break up in middle age, I have noticed that it is often easier for a man to find a partner than a woman. Now, I'm not suggesting that we're socially, statistically being lied to, but I have noticed, because I set people up, that for every, you know, 20, 30 emotionally literate, funny, beautiful, well-adjusted woman, you know, there's about half a man out there to set them up with.
I must say, in my role as I'm a newspaper and agony uncle for the Telegraph, and in my mailbag, I get more letters from women who are being pestered and bothered by the bloke who won't accept that the relationship's over. And the pattern that seems to have emerged, certainly from my perspective, is that it's when a man is dumped by the woman, it's when she says that it's over, that he finds it very, very hard to cope.
It's a pride issue.
It's a control and pride thing.
It's like a pride issue, right? You take a bit of a sting. And I think another thing with guys is that their initial response is, if let's say my fiancé rang me now and broke up with me, I know that it's just like kind of like bred into you. Like, a lot of my friends' response would be like, "Come on, mate, we'll get you back out there. Let's find you." And that's not what you need. You feel like you have to respond like, "Oh yeah, I'll be fine, plenty more fish and all that." When really, you kind of want to have the response that your partner would probably have, where she's got her friends around her, you got that positivity, you're feeling that love, and you're kind of helped to get over it, as opposed to, "Mate, pick yourself up, you should be fine."
I agree, and I think male pride is more affected by rejection. I had a friend many years ago, no longer with us actually, whose wife told him it was over, and it took him a very long time to get over it. She moved on, as you would imagine, very quickly. But I remember in one conversation late one night with him, because he was still in bits, he said that the real thing that had got to him was that she told him that she no longer found him attractive. That was the thing that he couldn't let go in his head.
Yeah, see, I think men and women are affected by breakups in exactly the same way.
Do you?
It's just that women are much more open emotionally, and they can talk to their friends about everything. You know, my wife does. She talks to her friends more than she talks to me about stuff. And I think they can get over it easier. I think men have the problem of suppressing their feelings, and it comes out later, and I think that can be more dangerous.
100%.
That's a very good point. All right, then, another myth debunked. Still to come on Loose Men. We're talking crop tops, skirts, handbags, and control pants for men. Nothing compared to some of the outfits that Martin used to wear in spandex, I suppose we should call it now. And we've each been given the challenge of writing down a word or a phrase that we think that men really need to talk about urgently. Here's mine. After the break, we reveal what the other words are. But I reckon it should turn into a pretty honest conversation. Well, for blokes, anyway, by our standard. Don't go anywhere.
The boys are back in town.
had to play that, didn't we? Welcome back to your Loose Men Takeover, keeping the loose ladies' seats warm this lunchtime. It's Robert Rinder, Martin Kemp, Jordan Banjo, and me, Richard Madeley. Coming up, after all the choss, all the chaos of last year's Loose Men, yes, the Gizmo is going to be back, and I will be putting these three to the test with more weird and wonderful gadgets, see if they can guess what they are. And we're going to be raiding Martin's Spandau Ballet wardrobe. Got some great pictures for you when we talk about the men's fashion trends that are coming round again, making a comeback. It's one big circle. Great stuff. Now then, this year, the focus of ITV's mental wellness campaign, Britain Get Talking, is less on the quantity of conversation and more on its quality. We know, this is a given, that men are infamous for struggling to open up about how they feel. But one tip for fighting the awkwardness is to actually write down what you think you really need to talk about. So I've done mine, and this Mental Health Awareness Week, we're all putting it to the test, because earlier today, privately, we each wrote down a word or a phrase that we think kind of needs some oxygen on it. Robert, I'm going to come to you first. What have you got for it?
So this is a word I feel very strongly about, and I'm going to hold it up, and the word is shame. And that, in a nutshell, is what society tells us, conscripts us into believing what a man should be. It's the dark matter that prevents men from reaching out for help, be it their physical health or their mental health, from being themselves. And of course, I speak about this as a gay man, growing up around that word and all of the emotional violence it does to so many people. And lastly, shame is a thing that will contain you and stop you ultimately from being happy. And above all else, what we need to do is to think about what that word means, and to free ourselves is to think in this sort of way. The world doesn't get to determine my narrative. I do. And I think this is a moment really to empower ourselves and to throw off that word. I want to throw it behind me. And that ultimately is, for me, what throwing off shame is.
So, Rob, were you in shame when you, as you were growing up, you realised you were gay? Did you go through a period of being in shame about that?
Sure. I mean, it's impossible not to be. Now, you think about what it was to be in the closet or to be gay in the 1980s, swirling around fear and around that word again, shame, and what it meant to be something furtive and to be different. And that applies to so many people. And of course, it's not just the gay lived experience. You might be suffering with a mental health condition. You might have a health complaint. It could be something deeply personal, but you won't reach out for help because society, other people have told you you should be ashamed of that. The answer to that is to rearrange these words. Get lost.
Yeah. Really well put. Martin, what's your word?
My word has to be something that's really close to my heart, which is male suicide. I don't know if you saw recently, my boy did a documentary on TV where he approached the subject because he was driven to that documentary because he lost a close friend of his, a close friend of mine as well, Joe Lyons, who was producer Joe at Capital Global, who was the loveliest of men. And we were literally out to dinner with him like 2 nights before it happened. So, and no one could understand why he did it and why he decided to do it. But what we're trying to do here is just to open up the conversation and get people that are in that position to be able to feel like they can talk to one another. You know, depression that is hidden is a very odd thing. You know, I've only ever been in that kind of depression bubble once in my life when I was ill back in '95 now, you know, when I suffered the whole brain tumour stuff. And you are literally in a bubble where you don't know what is going on outside of that. And you feel like you're the only person in the world. And I think sometimes when people try and talk to you when you're in that bubble, it's, you can't even hear. The person in the middle of it doesn't hear the conversation. As much as we say, let's talk to each other. And I think sometimes it might even be better to write your thoughts down that you want to give to that person. Let them read it. You know, send them an email.
I so agree with you. I think very often conversations which you can't have verbally, you say you can write them down. You can write them down with a ballpoint. You can send an email, and it's easier to do that sometimes.
I think
but
sometimes
it has the same effect.
It makes more effect to write them down. And because I've been in the middle of that bubble myself, and I felt that depression where you can't hear what's going on outside of you. No one can. It doesn't matter what somebody says to you because you're not hearing it, right? But if you read it sometimes, it's more effective.
It's all about finding good friends as well. I really care about this. You know, I see my male friends and how they talk to one another. And, you know, there's this nonsense about a friend is somebody that will be there in the middle of the night for you. No, the emergency services will do that. That's not how you evaluate whether you've got a quality friend. It's the person that's going to sit with you and celebrate with you. The person that you can't wait to call when something good happens. I think we as men need to be talking about that and, frankly, editing the negative people out of our lives as well.
Well, look, as I said earlier, my word was bullying, but it's interesting. I actually think that your starting point of shame is like a thread going through what we're saying, because shame is very heavily involved in people's motivations to take their own lives. So is bullying. I mean, I was the victim of quite severe bullying at my first secondary school. It was an all-boys grammar school in the East End of London. I wasn't from the East End, I was from Essex, so I didn't really fit in. I was a bit of an outsider. And that's very quickly picked up on when you're at school. And the bullying happened quite quickly and became quite intense, and it was physical. You know, it was like, you know, in the cloakroom you'd turn around and somebody would punch you in the face. I've still got a broken nose from one blow that I had when I was about 13, got a deviated septum from that. And I let it happen to me because I was ashamed that I was being picked on and I didn't know how to deal with it. And then, luckily, I changed schools, my parents moved, and I went to a mixed school, which was much, much less violent. And I had time, I was about 14, 15 then, I had time to reflect on what had happened, why I'd been bullied and how I'd allowed it to happen. And I realised, and I observed it here and there in other cases not involving me, that it always starts as a bit of what looks like banter. What they're doing, what the bully's doing is they're testing you, they're prodding you. They say something to you, they do something which you could take either way, but actually your instinct tells you it's the beginning of a bullying process, and that's when you have to step forward. You can't leave it. And I worked that out for myself, and when I left school at 16 and joined journalism as a profession and joined a local paper, plenty of bullies in journalism, I applied what I'd worked out, that when that sub-editor or that deputy editor or that news editor was starting to stick the sharp stick into your back, you turned round and said, sorry, what was that? What did you, sorry, what did you say?
You addressed it on the spot.
You addressed it on the spot, and they thought, oh, he's not easy meat, and they find somebody else. So actually, a bad experience turned into a life-changing one because it taught me what to do.
Or being empowered.
Being empowered.
Always about the bully. They don't like to be confronted.
No.
Always.
They move on.
I hate this word called banter. That's just a new word for bullying. It's a new word. And I think we have to be really responsible as adults, right? Because bullying happens in the playground. And it's what ammunition we give kids to take into the playground. And I think some responsibility has to go down to, like, comedians on television and the way that they banter with the audience, which is just giving kids ammunition to go in the next day and bully.
No, I don't agree with that at all, actually. I think you've got to have a bit of fun. I mean, look, you know, the world is serious. I mean, the great Maya Angelou, one of the last interviews she gave, I don't trust people who sit there all day with their hand glued to their face and say, I'm so serious about the world. Of course, there is banter, and there's a fine line between banter and bullying, but you know it when you see it. And I'm not sure we want the authorities clambering down on people taking the mick out of each other.
You don't want it, but you have to be very careful, because they're the lines that kids use in the playground the next day.
They cross them.
And they cross them, exactly. Jordan, last word from you.
Last one. So from me is raising boys. And everything we just said, that's, as a relatively new dad myself, you know, my son is 3 years old.
What's he called?
Cassius. His name's Cassius, he's 3 years old. And everything we just said there, especially that last point about the responsibility, it only, like, dawned on me fairly recently now. It's like, it's all well and good, changing nappies, giving bottles, this and that. And it's as his character's coming out more, as he's saying certain things, as his behaviour shifts, when he has a negative emotion, when he gets angry, when he's upset, how he responds to anger, even with his little sister. Whatever you do as a parent literally shapes someone's life. All of us sat here are a product of what our parents did or didn't do. So for me, that's something I feel like we need to have a conversation about, because, again, with girls, like with my daughter, I know she's going to face a lot of challenges.
So how old is she?
She's 2 soon.
And what's she called?
Mimi.
Mimi. Okay.
Mimi. So I know she's going to face a lot of challenges growing up, but I feel like even though stuff isn't all good for women, at least conversations are happening. So as a dad and as a parent, I can make sure that stuff's okay for her. With Cass, there's still a lot of issues and stuff that I feel like I experienced as a young guy growing up, and support that I didn't feel like guys can offer each other. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Because of shame, because of, you know, finding it hard to talk, because of bullying, because of all these other things. And I feel like that is something we need to address and be there for me, every night I put Cassius to bed, I lay in bed with him for 5 minutes, I ask him about his day. He's only 3 years old, but I make sure he's had a good day. If he's had a bad day, I make sure he tells me. If I've been short with him or I've had a go at him or I lost my temper, I make sure I apologise in that moment and when I put him to bed, because I don't feel like a lot of parents hold themselves accountable in those situations either. You know, people put themselves in a situation when they're like, I'm the parent, so I'm right. And that's definitely not true. And I want him to know that as he grows up.
Celebrating his stuff as well.
Exactly.
I mean, there's, I think, a difficult conversation happening now. It's a controversial one, to be sure, about toxic masculinity. And being a dad, I think, nowadays requires so complex, to be sure. It's complex, but presumably you celebrate his competitiveness and all of that stuff as well, just as you would for your daughter. I mean...
If we come back and do this again as the same group, we must talk about toxic masculinity. I agree with you 100%.
Don't point at me, Richard.
It's the deal. You started it. You said toxically. OK, guys, thank you. That was very honest stuff. We promised you honesty, and I think we got some there. And if after hearing any of those stories and experiences you think you need a bit of help or advice, there are plenty of helplines on our website. Just go straight to them. They're open doors. Now then, after the break, we're going to take a look back at some of our fashion failures and style successes. Well, I say we, I mean Martin. And it's finally... Sorry, Martin, I'm picking on you today.
Oh, carry on. Everyone else does, Richard.
Absolutely. Making you feel at home. And it's finally time for these three to go head-to-head in our game of Guess the Gizmo. Can Martin beat his son Roman, who is, of course, currently the loose men reigning champion at this? You can find out next. I can only apologise, Martin.
No, listen, don't apologise to me. You know, my brother owns the publishing.
And of course, I'm just saying, you get the royalties. Why am I apologising? That's another fiver in the bottom room. Right, again, well, the guys are going to be playing for gold in about 10 minutes as things are about to get competitive. There is not long to wait until our outrageous end-of-show guessing game. And, of course, you're welcome to join in at home. Right then, first, it's time to talk fashion. Former One Direction star Harry Styles is sporting a handbag for a new Gucci campaign, a proper handbag. We've also seen him styling out skirts. Apparently, crop tops are having a moment again. They are back. And there's been a recent rise in sales of Spanx for men. Martin, there's nothing new under the sun here. I guess Spanx is a little bit different, but basically all of this has been round and round and round, isn't it?
It's great. It's all part of pop culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what Harry's doing is something that Mick Jagger did. Remember when they
In
did...
the dress.
In the dress, Hyde Park, in the 60s. Of course. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same as what Spandau did. You know, I remember times... Yeah, I remember going out in a dress and makeup once. And,
what, on stage or for your family home?
Yeah, well, pop culture is all about trying to shock your parents, trying to shock, you know, the generation, you know, before. And I remember once coming down the stairs and my dad was sitting in a chair in his living room and I was wearing what can only be described as a dress and I had some makeup on. And I thought, I'm really going to shock him this time. So as I passed the door to the living room, I looked in, I saw my dad and I said, Dad, I'm just going down the pub. And he looked at me, he goes, have you got your keys?
Oh, what a cool dude. What a cool guy.
But he was a lovely, lovely man.
Well, what have we given you to... You're not going to put it on, but you're going to hold it up for us. What have you got?
I have got a crop top.
Ah, well, the second question is, would you wear it?
Well, I wouldn't, no, not right at this moment. What? Not on this show, I wouldn't. But in the 80s...
You wouldn't even wear it for me, even if I bought you dinner?
No. In the 80s, this was a big thing. Everybody, men and women, were wearing crop tops.
Were men wearing them?
Yeah.
I don't remember the midriff period.
Yeah.
Did you have one?
It was huge.
Really?
I didn't have one, I have to tell you. But what about you, Robert? What's your take on all this?
Well, I mean, look, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I am the gay that style forgot. You know, I have absolutely no style whatsoever. I think really, you know, it's what, Martin, you were saying. I remember you in the 80s, and you know how brave it was then. It was brave then because it was new, and people were kind of exploring androgyny, even actually before, I should say, in the 60s and 70s. I guess I kind of mind a little bit now that this isn't new, and I kind of worry that, you know, young people like Harry, who's great, I love his music, but I'm not sure it's courageous or brave. I think people should give what other people wear their delighted, undivided indifference. That being said, I have always wanted a handbag An homage, it's not necessarily the case that we share the same political point of view, but wouldn't you just like to be Margaret Thatcher? Just from time to time, with somebody in front of you, sort of handbagging people on the
But would you be comfortable going out to the shops with that? Would you, you know, and if
yes.
so, how would you carry it? Over your
I'm not
shoulder,
sure how
or-
I'd carry it, but I've always sort of worried a good deal more what I think of other people than what they think of me. So,
right.
I mean, the problem is there's not much room for all of the things I carry, you know. I need sort of a big enough bag for me and my ego. I just don't think that's big enough.
What about you, Jordan? I mean, he's right about the importance of new fashion is to shock, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's to get people saying that's terrible. You shouldn't be wearing that.
I just think, in general, just wear what you want to wear, man. I just really don't think... If you want to wear a dress, if you want to wear a pink unicorn horn and a tutu, who cares? You're wearing it. It's your fashion. It's however you want to express yourself. I mean, I have my item here. This is my own bag. A lot of guys probably wouldn't wear it, but...
That's actually yours.
This is mine, yeah. Oh, God, what's that?
Oh, it's all right, it's only your mic.
Sorry,
It's
guys.
fine.
Saying out the bag, probably. But, yeah, like, so in here... OK, what have we got in here? Hand sanitizer, mask, car keys.
Yeah.
I love that. I would wear that.
It's just what I wear, man. Like, I think that should kind of be the case. If you want to wear something, that's it.
I would hate to wear Spanx because I'm sure it's incredibly uncomfortable. But Kate Winslet, I don't know if you read this, Kate Winslet says, and she doesn't vouchsafe very much personal information, Kate Winslet, but she said that her husband wears Spanx underpants. This is a Spanx top. And
They're upside down, Richard.
Oh, sorry. Well, that's exactly... No, it's not, is it? Oh, I see. Yeah, of course it is. Oh, I get it.
What? Why would you want them? I mean, it sort of flattens the bit that's the best advertising.
Yeah.
Well, as you look, love handles are things which none of us can fight off forever. OK, it doesn't matter how much we try and keep the weight down. The love handles do come on, and these will hold them in. Would you wear it? Go on.
Would I wear it? Yeah. I'll take those home.
All yours, Martin. All yours, mate.
Take those home and make the most of them.
Well, I think back, actually, to the 60s, which is when I grew up, and I think back to the fashion of the 60s, and in particular, and this goes with fashion, the hairstyles of the 60s. Again, you've been on the money so often today, Martin.
Yeah.
We wore our hair long to shock our parents.
Yeah.
That was the top, middle and bottom of it. That's why we did it. And that's... do you think Harry Styles thinks he's shocking?
Is he shocking? No, but what he is part of the latest pop culture. And I think that's what we're lacking in this country, is a pop culture that shocks. Pop culture nowadays
like
is
punk.
sitting behind your computer.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want.
Yeah. Okie dokie, in a minute, it's our grand finale, Guess the Gizmo. Last time, Roman took home the trophy, so can his dad knock him off the top spot? But first, it's competition time. Here's Vic Hope with all the details.
I can't contain my excitement, folks. There's 2 epic prizes on offer for one lucky person, and it starts with one of these. You could be behind the wheel of a brand spanking new BMW 5 Series Touring. It's got 19-inch alloy wheels, sporty interior, sat-nav, a banging sound system. Yes, woo! And it's worth over £49,000. But also giving away an epic £90,000. £90,000 in tax-free cash. Or you could take your family on a special staycation, pay off those pesky bills, or save it for a rainy day.
For another chance to win a prize package worth over £139,000, go to the website. Entries cost £2. Text PRIZE to 86060. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Call 09068 786060. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and phone number to DY17 PO Box 7558 Derby DE1 0NQ. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close on Friday the 28th of May at 3 p.m. Good luck.
Ever try and beat him.
Thank you very much, Vic. Now that it is finally time as for our much-promised end-of-show game, you should each have 3 boxes, under the desk there. Inside are random gizmos or gadgets. And all these guys have to do is to work out what they're for, what they actually do. So, logically, we're going to start with box 1.
OK.
So if you take your box 1, pull out what's inside. There you go. It looks like a little red, hollow, half goldfish, doesn't it?
What is it?
What do you think, Martin?
What do I think this is?
What does it do? I mean, we know what it looks like, but what does it do? Have you got any idea of?
No, I can't take the litany, the alphabet of filth that's going through my mind right now. That's all
I knew you'd think of that.
Well,
Well, write down what you think it might be. Go on then. OK. Hold your boards up, please. hold them to the camera. So, Jordan, so look, you think it's an eye cleanser. Oh, you agree, you think it's an eye cleanser.
Yeah.
Eye cleanser, we know you think that.
Yep.
Rob, what have we got?
A fishbone holder.
A fishbone holder. It is actually a lip plumper.
Oh!
Lip plumper. You put it, that's right, you put it over your lip and you use the suction to draw out the lips. And apparently you do it for a few minutes, and it doesn't last forever, obviously, but it plumps up the lips for a while.
Why?
Well, yeah.
I'm getting wrist cramp already. I've only done it about 3 times.
Yeah.
All right, lip plumper.
I'll take
number
that
2,
home.
please.
That'll go with the
So-
Spanx.
Right, get your box number 2, please, guys, and pull out what's inside.
OK.
And this one...
Oh, come on.
I know what this is.
Go on, pull it out. Show the view. Jordan, quick, any thoughts?
I know what this is.
You know what it is?
I know what it is.
Oh, all right, well, don't...
I won't give it away.
Don't tell us. Do you think you might know what it is, Martin?
I'm going to take a guess.
All right, and you seem certain, Rob.
I've absolutely no clue whatsoever.
Oh.
But I think it might be what people... What's that thing where you go and sleep under canvas? What's that called again?
A tent.
Oh, yeah, tent, camping, yeah. This is what you do if you're ever caught short, just, you know.
Well, write it down.
Okay.
Write down what you think it is. Rawdon, hold up yours first. It's a she-wee. You think it's for a she-wee, OK? It's women who need an emergency pee.
A pee
A
director.
pee director. Well, OK. You're absolutely right. It is a female wee receptacle. I think you're all good there. We've got one more. One more. It's box number 3.
Hang on, that's number 3.
The she-wee, I think, would be very good in traffic jams.
Yeah.
Right. It looks a bit like a rake, doesn't it? Is that saying anything to you, Jordan? How would you describe it?
Is it like a dog? No, it's not a dog grooming thing. It's got a razor in
I
it.
think it has got blades in it, yeah. It has got something sharp up at the top. OK. Again, Martin's groping his way.
You just cut some of my hair off with it.
I think you got my beard off.
Actually, I must warn you, it is quite sharp, so don't stroke your thumbs along
I've
it.
said that before.
I think this reminds me of something that my dad used to cut my hair with when I was a kid. Some old Ronco.
You're on the right track with hair and cutting, but it's not head hair. Think about the length of the handle, the width of the blade. And Jordan, what have you got?
Back shaver.
Back shaver.
Leg hair remover.
OK, you've gone a bit further down. What have you got? Rob?
Well, you know, on that trajectory, I've got a bottom grooming device.
You are right, Jordan. It is a back shaver. So hang on, the results of this tense 5 minutes of television are in. I can confirm with the adjudicators in the gallery that the winner is Jordan! And Jordan, you get to keep the gadgets.
I get to keep them?
You get to keep the lip plumper, you get to keep the she-wee, you get to keep the back shaver. All right, that's it for today. And for another Loose Men, the Loose Ladies, of course, are back tomorrow with a jam-packed show. So thank you very much indeed for watching and bearing with us. And who knows, maybe see you next time. Did you have a good time, guys?
Lovely.
Loved it.
It was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Best lockdown. I mean, it's been lockdown, but this is the best date I've been on.
That is sad. OK, maybe see you next time. Bye.